Thanks for tuning in. Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. It's a great day to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's jump right in. So I have some bad news to start the show today. Mike Wagner, the legendary safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who wore number 23, multiple Super Bowl winner. He has died at the age of 76 years old. You know, Mike Wagner's story to me is just simply amazing. I'm not just saying it because Mike Wagner passed away, but I absolutely loved Mike Wagner's story. And I think he has probably the greatest story ever out of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, all of our alumni over the years, his story getting to the NFL. He went to Western Illinois. That's not exactly a powerhouse school when it comes to football. You know, it's not like drafting Troy Polamalu from USC or, getting a big time college player. He went to a very small school and you saw what he did. And an argument that I used to hear a lot about when I used to say how good Mike Wagner was. Now, I wasn't born when he played, but I would go back and I would watch the film or the tapes of him. And I would say what an excellent player he was. And I would argue with other Steelers fans because I would say his numbers were just as good as Polamalu's, if not better. And he has more Super Bowl more Super Bowl rings. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And a lot of times the other fans would say, Mike Wagner is a system player. He's a system safety. And they would say, well, look who Mike Wagner played with on his team. His defense was sensational. And my response every single time was like, well, who the hell did Troy Polamalu play with? You act like he played with a bunch of nobodies. That argument makes no sense. If you look at my channel, I made a video, and it's not a knock on Troy Polamalu. I mean, you see Troy on my wall back here. He's one of my favorite players ever. But I made a video and I said Troy Polamalu is not the best safety ever, Troy Polamalu is not the best safety in Steelers history, something like that. That was the name of my video. You could look at my channel. I made that video probably almost 2 years ago, and I bring up Mike Wagner's stats and how sensational he was. You have to look at it from this perspective. Let's say you're a dynamite player like Mike Wagner or Troy Polamalu, and you're playing on a legendary defense with 10 other studs who are just as good as you. That means you got to beat out 10 other dogs to get to that football. It's not as easy as you think. Now, fine, everybody's doing their job at a high level, so it should make it easier. But remember, like, we're talking about solo tackles and, making those big splash plays that everybody talks about. You're competing with the other players on your defense to make those plays when you're playing with legends. And I'm not trying to take away from any of the Steelers' greatness. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is this. Leave it to the Rooney family and the Steelers to find gems like Mike Wagner. An absolute gem, an absolute stud. Great story, great human being. He's 76 years old. I wish they had more memorabilia of Mike Wagner. I try to find pictures of him in his I always like to find my pictures, if you look at my pictures back there, it's Rod Woodson, it's Troy. But I like actually, I'm into defensive backs and getting our guys in their back pedal. Mike Wagner, I see certain things on him, certain photographs that I like, but I haven't found exactly one that I really like. I kind of want him getting him in his back pedal. A lot of the photos that they have of him is kind of before the game and his chin straps down. I've seen one or two like during the course of a game. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to find a better picture of him. I want to see him in his back pedal. That's kind of memorabilia that I like to collect. But it's sad, great human being, great player. I don't think they make human beings like Mike Wagner's anymore. Most players now, they can go to USC and they'll quit if they don't get their way. Never mind, Mike Wagner, the most amazing thing about him too, it just popped in my mind. When he got to Latrobe, he was a wide receiver. His first day of practice, he was a wide receiver. A couple days into practice, he was at receiver, and they're like, hey, you need to switch to defensive back. And the rest is history. But I think that's even more amazing, So obviously he wasn't a safety in college. He was playing wide receiver, and then he goes to the other side of the ball, and it just lights out from there. Let's jump into the article, see what's going on. Oh, 4 times. I thought he only had two. Damn. What was I thinking? Steelers 4-time Super Bowl champion safety Mike Wagner dead at 76. Aged very well also and looked good. 2-time Pro Bowler and 4-time Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers Mike Wagner has died. He was 76 years old. Team President Art Rooney II issued a statement after the news of Wagner's death. I hate when I press on it, it doesn't exactly come up. I can't see the top of the tweet for some reason, but I'll just read it from where I can see it. Basically, Mike Wagner was not basically, I'm just saying that Mike was a tremendous player and an integral part of some of the most successful teams in Pittsburgh Steelers history. Mike played a key role on our championship teams of the 1970s. As a member of four Super Bowl winning teams, his toughness and consistency were paramount to our secondary. His contributions on the field were significant, but it was also steady presence and team first mentality that truly defined him. On behalf of the entire Pittsburgh Steelers organization, we extend our heartfelt condolences to Mike's family. He will always be remembered as a champion, a great teammate, and a proud member of the Steelers family. I'm pretty sure he was at the Colts game when they called out some of the ex-players. He might not have been there, but I remember seeing him at one of the games I went to. I can't remember if it was the Dallas game or the Colts game, but born in Waukegan, Illinois in 1949, Wagner stayed local and played his college ball at Western Illinois. An 11th round pick. I thought he was a free agent. I'm sorry. An 11th round pick of the Steelers in the 1971 NFL draft. He immediately slotted into the lineup as Chuck Noll revamped the roster with an infusion of new and young talent. What the article doesn't say is he started the camp as a wide receiver. As a rookie, he started 12 games and tied for third on the team with a pair of interceptions. Breaking out as a sophomore in 1972, Wagner picked off 6 passes before leading the league with 8 of them the following season. Since the merger, the only Steeler to have more interceptions was Mel Blount, 11 in 1975. Well, he's in great, that's to be in some great company right there with Mel Blount. I saw him at the Colts game. I mean, he's close to 80 years old. He looked phenomenal. I mean, he's a gigantic man, Mel Blount. He looks like he should be playing defensive end or outside linebacker. I'm not even exaggerating. He's big. Mel Blount is big. He's every bit of 6'3", 6'4". A playmaker who intercepted passes, forced fumbles, and recovered them. Damn. Wagner started 116 games over his 10-year career, all in Pittsburgh. He made the 1975 and 1976 Pro Bowls, starting on defenses that finished number 2 and number 1, respectively, each season. Making his mark in the postseason, Wagner came up larger in the game's biggest moments. That's very, very key. That's like Troy. Troy's numbers are not like out crazy, but if you look back, when he made the biggest plays, they were in the biggest games, and the same thing with Mike Wagner. In Super Bowl, I'm very bad with Roman numerals, so you got to excuse me. In Super Bowl, I'm going to put like 1X or LX. Against the Minnesota Vikings, the Steelers defense pitched a shutout. The Vikings' only points coming on special teams. Picking off Fran Tarkenton over the middle, Wagner sealed the victory. During the 1975 Super Bowl run, Wagner was brilliant. He intercepted Oakland Raiders quarterback Ken Stabler twice in the AFC Championship game against the Dallas Cowboys in Super Bowl X. Wagner stepped in front of a Roger Staubach throw to return it deep into Cowboys territory. Let's see if it plays. Let's watch it. Yeah, I was watching this a couple weeks ago. Boom, see ya. Nothing, no bigger play in football than a pick six. Interception on the play. Picked off by number 23, Mike Wagner, going the opposite way for the black and gold. Steelers 1st and 10 at the Dallas Cowboys 15-yard line. Let's watch this play versus the Minnesota Vikings. Fran Tarkenton rolling to his left, looking deep. Tries to throw it back over his shoulder. Picked off. Mike Wagner, Pittsburgh Steelers, number 23. I mean, what a career. What a life. I mean, his family should be very proud. I'm sure they've always been proud of him, but what a life. What a story. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's life. But what an excellent story. Mike Wagner is a great story, a great Steeler. And once again, they just don't make people like him anymore. He's a different type of man, different type of human being. So may Mike Wagner rest in peace, and I wish you and your family the best. So there's an article that comes out today about Aaron Rodgers. Far more likely that he is done. King Kabbalah here as Rodgers has minuscule chance to return to Steelers. Haven't spoken to people who were around him, who have been around him. Most everyone that I've spoken to who has been around him feels that the chance that he comes back to play is minuscule. So you take it for what it's worth. CBS Sports, Aditi King Kabbalah said on 93.7 The Fans PM team. In conversations with people who were around him all year, who were with him when he was leaving the Steelers, when the season was over, all of those people that I spoke to said that it seems far more likely that he is done, that he is going to not return. I don't know why the article says it like that, but despite entering the 2025 season with plans to make it his last, Rodgers changed his tune throughout the course of the year. By training camp, he was already telling teammates maybe and openly discussing having options for the 2026 season. With Mike Tomlin stepping down, Rodgers' departure seemed like a foregone conclusion. But then the Steelers hired former head coach Mike McCarthy, along with several former assistants with whom Rodgers is familiar. McCarthy spoke openly about Rodgers' return being the plan. If that wasn't enough, basically every national and local reporter has been discussing his imminent return for the last few weeks. I mean, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm not going to keep speculating because, with Aaron, again, I'm not saying last year's decision was just him. I know his family was having some personal issues. Some people were sick. Let's just ride this wave out and see what goes on. But I'm not going to be speculating every week or sounding like, woke ESPN. Again, I said this yesterday. Every player that's available on the free agent market, it's like every analyst on every channel is like, oh, he'd be perfect for the Steelers. He'd be perfect for the Steelers. It's like, dude, can you try to be a little more creative with what you're going to talk about or the topics that you're going to come up with instead of just assuming that every free agent is just perfect for the Steelers? This article goes on to say 4 young Steelers who must immediately impress new coaching staff. This should be interesting. Oh, I knew he was going to be at the top. Wide receiver Roman Wilson. Through 2 seasons, Wilson has just caught 12 passes. A rookie year sabotaged by repeated injuries, a healthy sophomore season, but one in which he was unable to earn the trust of coaches and quarterback Aaron Rodgers to consistently see the field. Despite the Steelers fielding one of the NFL's worst receiver rooms, Wilson barely played and was outsnapped by Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Adam Thielen by year's end. Yeah, it doesn't look good for Roman Wilson at all. It really doesn't. So I'm not going to read every article, but yeah, Roman Wilson, Caleb Johnson, I do not think it's going to work out for him. That's just my opinion. I just get this vibe it's not going to work. I can't see him beating out Jaylen Warren. I definitely don't see him beating out Gainwell. So I just don't see it. I just don't see it happen. Let's go back to Tomlin. Tomlin has, for his first, second, and third round picks have not produced at high levels, and that's that's another reason why the Steelers are exactly where they are right now and pretty much last in every statistical category in the NFL. Nobody wants to talk about that with Tomlin. Like his draft, and please don't just push it all on Omar Khan or say it was Art Rooney, because Mike Tomlin signs off on all decisions. Every decision, the final decision is made by Tomlin. You could say whatever you want. Offensive tackle Dylan Cook. I don't know. I thought Dylan Cook played pretty well. I can't see him going anywhere. I mean, I could see Broderick Jones being unloaded before him. And safety Sebastian Castro. He began the year on Pittsburgh's practice squad, poached by Tampa Bay in September, but returned to the Steelers to finish out the season. Castro will enter the year fighting for a roster spot. Pittsburgh's likely to add safety help and depth, probably with a day 2 draft pick and perhaps other additions. Special teams are Castro's ticket, but McCarthy doesn't have the reputation of keeping pure special teams the way Tomlin did. That will hurt Castro's cause. He must focus on becoming Pittsburgh's personal protector up back on the punt team, a spot held by Miles Killebrew and Jabril Peppers last season. If Castro can make his mark there, he'll make the 53. Well, I think that Jabril Peppers is very, very interesting. Probably more interesting than the players that this article just mentioned. Dylan Cook, I don't think is going anywhere, but I thought when Jabril Peppers played, like when he played versus the Patriots, I thought he played very well. And going into last year, he was slated to start for the Patriots. He was ready to start that Sunday. And then right before the first game, he got cut like a day before the first game. So, but he did have a very high Pro Football Focus grade. So it'll be interesting what happens to him. Do I think he has a little bit left in the tank? Yeah, I do. Do I think he's a superstar anymore? Probably not. But also, he didn't get a lot of opportunities with the Steelers. I thought he should have played more last year. I mean, I'm not at practice, so I'm just saying from the outside, the way it looks. I didn't think the safeties played very well for the Steelers at all, but here we go with these analysts. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't return, analysts ponder Steelers trading for C.J. Stroud. Oh, yeah, just what we need, C.J. Stroud. Right. His whole team abandoned him. The whole locker room is up in arms because they feel like C.J. Stroud doesn't take football serious or prepare the right way. And these analysts, it's like Malik Willis, C.J. Stroud, Kyle Murray. Every day they just get on here and they just say the stupidest things. It's like, dude, please shut up already. Charlie Batch names 3 free agents Steelers must resign. Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Let's see who he's talking about. Isaac Seumalo. The third one for me that I have to look at is going to be Isaac Seumalo. Seumalo being one of the Steelers' most notable free agents signed in recent years. Already an established veteran, he signed a 3-year, $24 million contract in 2023. This is a free agent here. This guy is the anchor of the offensive line, and it's very noticeable when he is in the lineup versus when he's not. Yeah, I think that'll be a tough decision. I mean, he is very good. He keeps injuring his pec, so I don't, I do like Isaac Seumalo, though. I do. I like his presence. I like the way he handles himself. He's good in the locker room. And when you get up there in age and you keep getting injured, it's easier to get rid of you when you're a pain in the ass and you're doing stupid stuff off the field and you're not a team player. But that's not how I love how Seumalo acts and just his whole demeanor. So I don't know. I expect him to be back on the roster, but then again, you never know. It'd be interesting to see what they want to do with Broderick. That's the most interesting offensive lineman to me. Do they want to get rid of him? Do they want to keep him as a swing guy? I thought he was playing well before he got hurt. But I guess we're going to have to, check it out. People are already projecting how many games the Steelers are going to win. Despite new head coach, Steelers win projections lands on familiar number. Well, let me guess, 10 wins. DraftKings recently released its over-under season win totals as shared by U Stadium on Twitter, and they have the Steelers set at 8.5. That's been the number many sports books have had them at for the last few years. While the Steelers have had more than 8 wins in each of the last 6 seasons, they've undergone a major shift with Tomlin stepping down. Damn, Green Bay 10.5, Detroit 10.5. All right, I'm not here to promote gambling or degeneracy on my channel, but you get the point. I think the Steelers are going to win their first playoff game with Mike McCarthy as the head coach. And I know that's like, you'd be like, oh, we don't even have a quarterback. And you're just saying that because you're a homer. No, I really do believe that. I expect the team to be playing much better. I think the players will be much more focused and what's expected of them will be much more clearer. I think we'll be better prepared going into each game every week. That's my opinion. And I expect that. I expect Mike McCarthy to turn around very fast. Now, this is so ridiculous. Just leave it to Florio. He's always saying stupid things. Florio thinks Roethlisberger's reputation could prevent first ballot Hall of Fame bid. Just give me a break. Why? Because his recent dust up with Joey Porter. Oh, you don't have a problem with Lawrence Taylor. You don't have a problem with Terrell Owens, but that it only counts towards Big Ben, right? Just shut up. If it's a close question of whether or not he gets in, the voters, I think, are incumbent, or it's incumbent upon them to take into consideration questions like what kind of leader was he? Florio told 93.7 the fans, Andrew Filipponi and Chris Mueller Wednesday afternoon, what kind of teammate was he? Give me a break. Roethlisberger's reputation has come under the microscope following Joey Porter Sr.'s recent harsh comments that sparked support and their own criticism. So you're going to sit here and you're going to effing tell me that because Joey Porter, one of the biggest big mouths in Steeler history, he's mad because, again, Big Ben said that maybe it's best for the Steelers to move on from Tomlin and, it'll be a mutual parting of the ways. So now Joey Porter Sr. is going to influence a bunch of Hall of Fame voters if Ben should get in. Do you realize how effing stupid you are and how you sound saying that? And if the Hall of Fame voters admit that that's the reason and Joey Porter Sr. influenced them, they should get their votes taken back from them and they shouldn't be allowed to vote again. It's just absolutely ridiculous, man. It really is. Oh, yeah, Joey Porter Sr., now he's going to be the moral compass of society, and he's going to get to judge who gets to be in the Hall of Fame and who doesn't based on if he likes them or not. Like, do you hear how ridiculous that sounds? It's just like, whoa, my God. Never ends. It really doesn't. Wow. I mean, I guess Lawrence Taylor drug-fueled binges. Nobody cared about that, huh? I mean, he did have to register as a sex offender, but they still voted him into the Hall. But Big Ben, he didn't sign autographs for teammates. And he liked to have a beer or two, and he drove a motorcycle with no helmet. So he shouldn't get into the Hall of Fame. But hey, that Lawrence Taylor guy, he no problem. I didn't see anything. If it's close, will they seek guys out? Florio said, and will they take it into consideration his reputation as a teammate, his reputation as a leader, and will that be relevant to whether or not he gets in? That's my point. Do you ever have a point, Florio, instead of just being an idiot? The debate over Roethlisberger's quality as a teammate is never ending. It partially depends on which player talks about him and when they played together. Early years, Roethlisberger is different than career. And I don't want to hear this garbage. The Hall of Fame voters are instructed to focus on what the player did on the field, not off the field. How do you think that idiot and moron Terrell Owens got in? And then they vote him in, and the moron, everybody does gets the gold jacket in Canton and leave it to Terrell Owens to make it all about him and move the venue to like his high school or something. And he still took a dump in your face one more effing time. But, somebody like Terrell Owens, who's never won anything in his life, he's never won any championships, a total jerk off in the locker room. He can get in, but Big Ben can't. It's just like, you know what? Shut the F up. It's really everything comes down to politics and race. It's just absolutely pathetic. It really is. And people like Florio that push this kind of narrative, like they try to make it a story. Like it's just like, you know what, Florio? I don't even know why I read your articles because you really piss me off. Florio is the same guy that'll be like, George Pickens isn't a bad guy. I wear his jersey. I pound the table for George Pickens. Steelers' worst mistake they ever made was trading George Pickens. Then he goes out that Monday night and, he's drunk or high and just decides to stop playing during the middle of the game. But hey, here we go with the nonsense. Analyst makes a lot of sense. Analyst says Steelers should look into acquiring Cardinals quarterback Kyle Murray. Oh, God. Whatever. Supposedly, Dolphins are putting Minkah Fitzpatrick on the trade block once again. I don't think he should have ever been traded in the first place, but this is interesting. I didn't see this. Welly says Steelers at risk of bleeding away their fan base. I don't think so. I don't think the Steelers fan base will ever go anywhere. With the changing of guards with Mike McCarthy that haven't had success lately in the playoffs, now it's a whole generation that doesn't remember those 70s Steelers or even the Steelers of the 2000s. So that's starting to wane. So they're going to have to start winning in the postseason. Think about it. There's a whole generation of people that haven't seen a playoff win. Welly said Wednesday on 93.7 The Fan. You're going to start bleeding away the fan base and eroding from that foundation. The popularity is going to start eroding unless you start. I don't believe that at all. I couldn't disagree with that take. I mean, I'm so... that take is just, to me, it's just absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous. I mean, that stadium is packed week in and week out. People absolutely love the Steelers. Kids usually grow up with their parents rooting for the same teams. It's a bonding moment. I mean, the Steelers, it's a small market team, I'll say that, but it's an absolutely legendary franchise. And I couldn't disagree more with that article. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say originally. I couldn't disagree with that article more. I don't think anything's going to erode. I mean, look what we just dealt with for the last 19 years with Tomlin, and the stadium was still packed week in and week out. And the last 10 years, 12 years have been absolutely just agonizing. And the fan base was stronger than ever. So I couldn't disagree with this article more. I think that's whatever. I mean, he's entitled to his opinion. I'm sure he believes it. He might just be, who knows? I mean, this time of year, guys, I'm not saying he's doing that, but I couldn't disagree with him more. Let me go down. Give me a minute. I don't want Mac Jones to wear the black and gold either. Two Steelers make the Athletics top 50 free agent rankings. I wonder who this is going to be. The Pittsburgh Steelers may be unlikely to resign offensive guard Isaac Seumalo, but the pending free agent is the team's highest ranked ahead of free agency by the Athletics. Seumalo came in at number 20 on the website's list of the top 150 free agents, joining wide receiver Calvin Austin III at number 40 in the top 50. Other Steelers on the list are quarterback Aaron Rodgers, number 57, Gainwell, number 103, and cornerback Asante Samuel Jr., number 132. The Athletic predicted a 2-year, $28 million contract for the 32-year-old Seumalo. Damn, that's a lot of money. While he's been a steady starter for the Steelers, Seumalo has dealt with injuries. I'm not even going to get into that. I don't know. I think Calvin Austin III probably will resign with the Steelers, and I think he'll have a much better year under McCarthy. But I mean, he always puts it out there that he wants to be a Steeler for life. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I think both of those players would have much better careers under Mike McCarthy. Let me check out one more thing. ESPN analyst wants to see Nick Herbert get change of scene. All these ESPN analysts should just shut up. Fittipaldo writes they have to figure out Nick Herbig's future. One of Steelers' key questions. I absolutely agree with that. He's too good, too explosive to be on the bench. But remember one thing: Nick Herbig is always hurt. He's always tweaking a hamstring. So he never really makes it more than 5 games in a row before he gets hurt again. They have to figure that out. Ray Fittipaldo wrote in a recent chat session, when you hit on a guy like Herbig in the draft, you want to sign him to a second contract, but it's going to be hard for him to start unless there are injuries to Watt or Highsmith. Maybe they try to make a deal, or maybe they just let him play out his contract and see where things stand next year at this time. Me personally, I think that Nick Herbig needs to go to middle linebacker. I think he could pull it off. I think he could move him around and blitz him from all over the field. I think he could drop in coverage. I think he could take on centers and guards. I think he would be really good in the run, probably better than all our linebackers. And that's just another way to get him on the field. You know, obviously you can't put Highsmith in that position. You're not going to put Watt in that position. So, you know, I always say this. They did this at USC because they had Clay Matthews with Ray Maluga and and Brian Cushing. So it was Brian Cushing, Maluga, and what's his name? And Clay Matthews. And Clay Matthews used to play this predator position. And I mean, that's what you got to do with Nick Herbig. You got to get him on the field. The fact they have a new coaching staff makes the situation even more difficult to read. Why we have heard from the new Steelers head coach, Mike McCarthy, a few times. He hasn't brought up Nick Herbig. Perhaps someone will ask GM Omar Khan when he speaks to reporters at the NFL Combine next week. I don't know. I can't see the Steelers trading away Nick Herbig. I would just let him play his contract out. You know, like, why would you? I don't know. I can't see that happen. Over 3 seasons and 1,216 snaps, Nick Herbig has 79 tackles with 23 for a loss, 16 sacks, 9 forced fumbles, 4 recoveries, 1 pick, and 3 passes defensed. He returned 1 fumble for a touchdown and should have had a pick 6 that he dropped. Last season on 610 snaps, he recorded 30 tackles, 13 for a loss with 7.5 sacks. 3 forced fumbles, 1 interception, 3 passes defended, and a defensive touchdown via fumble recovery. But you know what? With Nick Herbig, he put up these great numbers last year, and there were certain games where he just wouldn't get in the game at all, or he'd play like 5 snaps. So, like, you haven't even seen the best of him at all because he's not even been able to really get into a rhythm yet. So I don't know. The Steelers are going to have to be creative. They could pull it off if they want to. And I hope Nick Herbig would be open to moving to like inside linebacker. And just like I want Peyton Wilson to be open to moving to strong safety. I think Peyton Wilson could play strong safety. He's still going to be up towards the line of scrimmage. He's fast as hell. He can cover. You know, all he has to do as a safety is really keep everything in front of him. He's a big safety on top of it. He's always running 100 miles an hour to the ball. So I think, if Nick Herbig's open to it, I would like to see him at Mike linebacker. And again, he doesn't have to stay there all the time. He can rush. He can drop in coverage. He can do different things. But the Steelers got to do a much better job. You know, Tomlin with his nonsense, like, oh, I'm going to introduce Nick Herbig as a starter on defense, and then the rest of the game, he's just going to sit on the bench. It's like, Tomlin, who does shit like that? Like, who does stuff like that? Yeah, well, we announced Nick Herbig as a starter, but he didn't play a snap today. Oh, what a pat on the back that is, Tomlin. Talking about pissing a guy off. You're trying to make the situation better, not worse. I don't see how that made the situation better at all. But whatever. That's Tomlin. This Malik Willis talk, I really hope it stops. I really do. I mean, I haven't seen enough of them to know, but I don't know. I just don't see it working out. And then the Steelers are going to have to give up either big money or a lot of picks for him. You know, I don't know. I'm just going to wait and see what Mike McCarthy does at the quarterback position, and I'm going to leave it at that. All right, that's all that's going on today. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2.